What do you picture when you hear the word blizzard? You're probably thinking about huge snowdrifts, right? Piles and piles of snow. But what if I told you the real story of the blizzard has less to do with snow and a lot more to do with language, history, and a single storm that gave us one of our most powerful words for weather? So let's start with something recent. During that huge blizzard back in January of 2024, a lot of Iowans, like Rebecca Jones here, were completely snowed in. And there's that quiet side to a big storm, right? It kind of forces you to slow down, take a breath. But while that calm is happening inside, what's raging on the outside is a very specific and often misunderstood kind of storm. Okay, so we all think we know what a blizzard is. We use that word all the time. But what does it actually mean? Is it how much snow you get? How cold it is? Well, here's the thing. Most of the storms we call blizzards, technically, they aren't. Okay, so here it is, the official by-the-book definition from the people who know, the National Weather Service. And it's really specific. You need 3 things. 1, winds that are consistently blowing at 35 miles per hour or more. 2, visibility that's less than a quarter mile. And 3, those 2 conditions have to last for at least 3 hours straight. But did you notice what's missing from that list? And this right here is the part that blows most people's minds. It has almost nothing to do with how much snow falls from the sky. You could get 2 feet of fresh powder, but if the winds are calm, it's just a snowstorm. But get this, you could have 0 new snow, and if you get those 35-mile-per-hour winds, whipping up the snow that's already on the ground, creating a total whiteout, yep, that's a blizzard. It's called a ground blizzard, and it is incredibly dangerous. So, okay, a blizzard is all about the wind. Got it. But that word, blizzard, it just sounds ancient, doesn't it? Like it's been with us forever. Well, turns out it hasn't, not even close. And its origin story takes us to one specific spot on the map. Welcome to Estherville, Iowa. The year is 1870. The region just got hammered by a vicious days-long storm. And a newspaper editor, O.C. Bates, is trying to find a word that really captures that fury. He grabs a piece of local slang, blizzard. A week later, he adds the second Z. And just a month after that, the local baseball team proudly renames itself the Northern Blizzards. And just like that, the word was out there, and it caught on like wildfire. And here's why that word choice was so perfect. Before this, blizzard had nothing to do with weather. It was a term from the Civil War era that meant a volley of gunfire or a solid punch to the jaw. Local lore says a guy named Lightning Ellis used the word to describe the storm's impact. It was the perfect metaphor. It felt like nature was literally hitting you again and again with this relentless, concussive force. And you can just feel the local pride in this quote from the baseball team's manager. They loved this new word. They weren't just victims of the weather, they were kind of proud of it. The word was startling, curious, and suggestive of their reality. They didn't just survive these storms, they owned them. The word itself had to be powerful, right? Because the storms themselves were, well, incredibly powerful. So let's take a look at what these things can actually do when they're at their worst. We're going to jump ahead 100 years or so to an event that is still talked about in hushed tones across the Midwest. They call it the Super Bowl blizzard or the storm of the century of 1975. Just let that number sink in. -60 degrees Fahrenheit. That was the estimated wind chill. That's not just uncomfortable, that is deadly cold. And at the same time, the wind was gusting up to 90 miles an hour. We're talking Category 1 hurricane force winds, but with ice and snow. And if the numbers don't paint the picture, this personal story will. Arvid Huseman was a lifelong Iowan. He grew up with nasty winters, but even he knew this one was something else. When a guy who's seen it all decides it's too dangerous to even try to drive home, you know things are bad. He was trapped, just like thousands of other people. And the toll, it was just staggering. 15 people died just in the northwest part of the state. Farmers lost tens of thousands of livestock. 40 counties were declared official disaster areas. And the storm literally reshaped the landscape. Think about this. Snowdrifts reached 20 feet high enough to completely swallow single-story houses. You know, when you live through something like that year after year, it changes a place. It doesn't just leave scars, it builds this incredible resilience. It becomes part of your identity. This map really shows you why Iowa gets hit so hard. See those dark blue spots? That's where they're most vulnerable. The flat, open prairie acts like a superhighway for Arctic air plunging south from Canada.
There's just nothing there to slow it down, so the wind can build up incredible speed and power. And so, because of that, people have had to learn to adapt. And I mean really adapt. From the first settlers to today's farmers, they've developed strategies to survive. This isn't stuff you read in a book. This is knowledge passed down through generations, learned the hard way, about how to keep your livestock and yourselves alive through the storm.
So when you put it all together, you see that a blizzard in Iowa is so much more than just a weather report. It's a cultural force. It literally gave our language a new word. It has tested the absolute limits of endurance. And it continues to be a force of nature that demands, and gets, a whole lot of respect. And that kind of leaves you with this one last thought, right? A storm in a small Iowa town over 150 years ago gave us a word we all use today because people needed to describe what they were going through. It makes you wonder, what powerful experiences are we living through right now that are still waiting for their name?